give you guys time to go ahead and get in, get settled in. Once you get into your seats, I want you to go ahead and take your notebooks out. We're going to take some notes today. We're going to be covering a new topic today. We're going to delve into fingerprinting today and what makes us unique from the next person. So we're going to be talking about who we are and what makes us unique. And a big part of that is our fingerprints. Our fingerprints are one of the most major things that makes us unique from the next person. So you know me, I'd like to start off with a scripture just to integrate that character in scripture into what we're going to be learning. So today we're going to start off with Ephesians 2:10, and it says, "For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them." So that just means that, yes, we are all created in God's image and likeness. We are all God's children. We are all a part of the human race. But there is a unique thing that God does for us, which is he creates us with our own individual set of fingerprints that sets us apart from everybody else in the world. Your fingerprints are not like your parents' fingerprints. Your fingerprints are not like your little sisters or your big brothers or your grandparents or even your friends sitting next to you or even your teacher. My fingerprints are going to be different than anybody else's in this world. So before we go ahead and delve into it and start taking notes and just getting to know what and how we obtain fingerprints, I'm just going to play you a short 3.5-minute video. Just going to kind of give you the basis of what fingerprints are, when they're used the most, and what types there are. So be mindful that there's some translations in the video, so you may hear a different language being spoken, but that's also being translated as well. So I'm going to go ahead and start the video. Give me about 3.5 minutes of your time, and then we'll delve right in.
Something that is actually very inconspicuous and nearly invisible. But it can often provide the police with telling evidence about the crime. In order to analyze a fingerprint, it's first invisible. Magnetic powder is brushed off. An extremely thin film of black powder remains on the elevated residues on the smooth surface. This creates a black and white negative. The fingerprint is now visible.
Eine Fingerspur besteht im Prinzip zu 98,5% aus Wasser und Water. Dazu kommen ein paar Fettanteile, Spurenelemente, indem Sie nicht länger die Hände nicht gewaschen haben, entsteht so viel hinterlassen können.
Fingerprints are unique. Even identical twins who have the same genetic makeup have different markings. The thin curves of a fingertip's markings are easily recognizable under a microscope camera. The whorls are called papillary ridges and have a different pattern on every finger. This gives rise to an individual ridge structure rather than fingerprint. The lines develop in the womb. The various stratified layers of skin in each embryo have different growth rates. This creates pressure and the skin begins to fold. These creases lead to the characteristic furrows and lines on the palm of the hand.
Primär sind sie genetisch angelegt, dass unter den zufälligen Einfluss der Umgebungsschwankungen oder Temperature Unterschiede im Mutterleib zufällige Abweichungen, kleine Details sich ausbilden. Diese Heimwerkrolle kennt man auch von den von Gabeln und von Zweigen, plötzlichen Enden. Es gibt auf jedem Finger über 100 solche kleine Indizien, also kleine, feine Unterschiede, mit denen man dann eben den Fingerabdruck charakterisieren kann.
These minimal anatomical differences help police in their search for criminals. The police database contains millions of fingerprints. These help track down the culprit. The fingerprint is compared to the prints the police already have on record, and and this is no easy task.
Das System sucht aus der Vielzahl der abgespeicherten Daten die heraus, die eine ähnliche Merkmalskonstellation oder eine ähnliche Konstellation anatomisch vergleichen. Im Endeffekt muss immer der Sachverwalter vor dem Bildschirm selbst gucken, ist er wirklich dabei oder nicht.
And if so, there's no way for the criminal to escape, and his fingerprint is unique.
All right. So, now that you guys have watched that video and you've kind of gotten an idea of what it is to obtain a fingerprint, what fingerprints are made of, and how we get those fingerprints, I kind of want to do an opener. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pass out this worksheet. Now this worksheet has a set of 12 different prints on it. So if you look at this question mark, we have 12 different prints here. And then on the outside, we have those exact same matches of that print. So I'm going to pass out this worksheet, and I want you guys to match the prints on the inside of that question mark with the ones on the outside. So we're going to see if you can be a detective and if you can match these prints to one another. Now, mind you, this should only take you about no more than 10 minutes. So once I pass this out, I want you to go ahead and when you're done, I want you to just flip it over, and then as you work this, I'll walk around, and if you need any help, just feel free to put up a hand, and I'll be more than happy to help if there's any questions or if there's any concerns. So go ahead and pass these out, and we'll give you about 5 to 10 minutes to go ahead and work through this. All right. You need any help? Have a question? All right. So I want you to go ahead and flip those papers over, and we'll get back to those later. We'll go ahead and collect those as you leave out. So this is where I want you to take notes. So we are going to go ahead and delve into fingerprints. What are fingerprints exactly? A fingerprint is a person's unique pattern on the fingers of all humans. So all humans have some sort of print. So if you hold up your hands from your thumbs down to your pinky, there is going to be a print on each and every last one of your hands. So if you have a print, I have a print, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa. Everybody in this world has prints. Now, how do we identify prints? Prints are made by a mark on the surface of a person's fingertip. So in order to make a print, we're going to get the surface of the tip of your print, of your fingertip here. So if you look on the tip of your fingerprint, that is how a print is going to be made. That is the basis of where your print comes from. Now, fingerprints form from pressure on a baby's teeny developing fingers in the womb. So your fingerprints are formed when you are a baby being formed in your mom's belly. So that's what makes your fingerprints unique than anybody else. Even as a twin, even if you have a twin, your prints and your twin's print will not be the same because that pressure that's being formed in that womb is specific to your hands. Those curvatures that are being made, that pressure that's being formed is only going to be affecting your hands only. Now, fingerprints are even more unique than the actual DNA in our body. They are unique to you and only you. DNA can be the same as our parents. We can have our parents' same eyes, we can have our parents' same nose, we can have the same hairline, we can have the same facial features as our parents, but in no way, shape, or form is our fingerprints going to be the same as anybody else. So, like I said, for reiteration, your fingerprints is not the same as the person sitting next to you. Your fingerprints will not be the same as mom or dad or a baby sister. Your fingerprints belong to you and only you. All right. So in order to be able to identify what type of prints you have, there are specifically 3 types of prints. These are the major 3 types of prints that exist. First, we have whorls, loops, and arches. And ironically, most of those prints are going to look exactly like they sound. So let's start off with loops. Loops are the most common prints found. Almost 85 to 95% of the human population is going to have a loop-style fingerprint. And if you look, they look exactly like they sound. You see the curvature here? There's a loop and a loop. and a loop, and a loop. That curvature is always going to be in a loop shape. So loops are the most common prints. They have ridges that make a backwards turn into loops, but they do not twist. So as you can see, there is no twisting patterns. There is just a loop and then it stops. A loop and then it stops. Loops are distinguished by how the loop flows on a print card. The loop is similar to the reverse image of what you will see when you look at yourself in the mirror. So the loop is exactly like how I would look in the mirror. When I'm standing in the mirror, this is me. I'm facing the mirror, that person's looking back at me. So when that print is made on that card, that loop should look back at you. A loop pattern has only one delta. And when we say delta, we're just talking about the creation of that print. So if you look there, there's a delta. That every loop will have a delta in it. Next, we're going to move to whirls. Sounds exactly like it looks. If you know a whirly ball or a whirlwind, you'll see the pattern in a whirl. Looks like a whirl, a whirlwind, just a big circular motion. So whirls are the second most popular common types of print. Almost 65 to 75% of the human population will have a whirl fingerprint. Whirl make ridges that turn through at least one circuit. So if you see, that's ridges that turn through at least one circuit. Ridges that turn to at least one circuit. So it's almost like a circular motion. A whirl pattern contains two or more deltas. So as you can see, there's a delta there, there's a creation point there, there's a delta there, there's a creation point there. So they'll have 2 points where those prints kind of connect into that whirl. And last but not least is arches. Now arches, like I said, exactly like they sound. I always think of the golden arch, McDonald's, the golden arch. So if you look, those patterns are all in an arch. All in an arch. All in an arch. Arches are the least common. So less than 10% of the population will have an arch fingerprint. So for a criminal or a detective that's investigating a crime, they would love arches because they would be able to narrow these down fairly quickly. Arch ridges run from one side of the finger to the other and make no backwards turn. So as you can see, the print begins, arches, and ends. Begins, arches, and ends. There is no backwards turn, there's no loops, there's no whirls. Normally there is no delta in an arch pattern. So generally I posted one. As you can see, there is no delta. There is no beginning point where that print curvature is in there. So, but if one does exist, there should be no recurving ridge that intertwines between the core and the delta point. So you won't have any connections like you saw in the loop or the whirl. All right, so now that we've kind of got a basis of what those arches are, how they move, how they function, how they are created, I'm gonna actually show you guys how to lift our own prints. So in order to do that, we need some simple things that you and I both would have at home. We just need some packing tape, a granite pencil, Post-it, and a piece of paper. So in order to do that, we're gonna take a Post-it. Just a simple Post-it. And what I'm gonna do is we're gonna tape this to it. Now, in order to get a print, we're gonna do this granite pencil. We just use granite pencil because the ink is a little bit more, the lead is a little bit more thicker and it has a more oily texture to it. But even if you don't have a granite pencil, we can still use a regular pencil. So what are we gonna do is we're gonna take this pencil and we're just gonna mark one here. We're gonna go as deep as we can. Deep, 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 deep. All right, so I've made a pattern on there. So I'm going to take my finger. The forehead is usually the most oiliest place on the body. So I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to rub it across my forehead just to get a little bit of oil on my hand because that'll make the print more potent and stick to the paper a little bit more. We're going to take a piece of tape. I'm going to take this tape. We're going to tear it. Now I'm going to take my finger. We're going to take this and we're going to mash that into that lead. You just mash it, get as much as possible. As you can see, my finger has lead. As you can see, from me rubbing my finger, against my forehead, you can see the shine from the oil. Now, in order to go ahead and lift that print, you literally just take your finger, flat, post it down, and peel it up. And as you can see, you've created your own print. So that's your print on that piece of paper, and that can be used for identification. So now that we've lifted our own print, I want to call on a volunteer to go ahead and see if they can do it. So we'll pick John. John, you can come on up and help me do a print. All right, so now that John has demonstrated how to make that print for us, we're gonna move on. So what I want you to do is I actually have a whirl, a loop, and an arch. I'm gonna ask that 2 students come up and identify how we would obtain these prints. So we're gonna have these here. So I would like to call on Sarah and Michael. So Sarah and Michael, I would like you to tell me which print is which. How would I identify this? Correct, this would be a loop. Because of the loop and the whirl and the loops around and the curvatures, we know that this is a loop. And then we're going to move over and we're going to see that this is a whirl. Because of the curvatures, we see that that's a whirly, a spinning circle around. We're going to call that a whirl. And lastly, Sarah was correct by identifying this as an arch. We see the arches that go up and down. The up and down motion makes that an arch. Thank you guys. Thank you for your participation. All right. So now that we've, had a little guided practice, and we've gotten an opportunity to practice it ourselves, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you guys split up in groups of 4. I want you guys to pick your own groups and give you that opportunity to pick your own groups. I want you to take this seriously. I want you to get with somebody and you're going to play. So I just want you to go ahead and get in groups of 4. And I'm going to explain this worksheet. So what I want you guys to do, I have 3 different prints here. So within your group, I want you to properly identify if these are A, B, and C is either a whirl, an arch, or a loop. And you're going to use the same techniques that they use in the video that I showed you from the PowerPoint here to identify those. Then I want you to drop down and I want you to answer these true or false questions. I want you to answer, hey, do arches have lines, deltas, or chords? I want you to tell me if a person's fingerprints can change in their lifetime. So I want you to go through these true or false questions. Now these questions should take you no more than 15-20 minutes left, the remainder of the class. So I'm gonna go ahead and pass these out. Like I said, we have about according to my watch, we have about 15 minutes left of class. So what I want you to do is go ahead and work through these. All right, so now that you guys have worked through that, I would like you to go ahead and flip those over and I'll collect those on the way out. So what I want you to know is we're gonna go over what we learned today. We learned that fingerprints are unique to you and only you. Nobody in this world will have a print like you. We also learned that there are 3 major print types: whirls, loops, and arches. And we also learned that it is fairly easy to obtain a fingerprint. You can do this in the comfort of your own home. We learn how to lift our own fingerprints, and we learn how to identify our own prints. So I want you to go ahead and take this, sleep on this, meditate on this tonight. And tomorrow when we come in, we're actually going to get in groups, and we're going to actually obtain our own prints. So we're going to get in groups tomorrow, and you're going to obtain your partner's print. You're going to identify that print. So you're going to be able to tell your partner if they have either a loop, an arch, or a whirl fingerprint. So I'll let you guys go ahead and gather your stuff. And thank you for your patience and listening. And hopefully you learned something today. So we'll come back at it tomorrow, ready to learn more. See you guys tomorrow. I hear that bell ring.